Hi, this is Captain Mike. Today we're going to show you how to build a simple soap cutter, and I'll show you how you can build one out of just scrap 1x4s, and I'll show you how to build the cutter part, and I'll explain where to get all the parts and how to do that. And with this soap cutter, you can cut nice, neat, smooth bars of soap. So let's get to it. If you watched my previous video on how to build a soap mold, then you'll know that 1x4s are 3.5 by 3/4 of an inch thick, and we're going to build this one today using 1x4s because they're probably more accessible and you don't have to have a table saw. If I was building these for myself, I would build them out of plywood. There's one step that you won't have to do with these if you have plywood, but you have to have a table saw. So you are going to need a chop saw to cut these off square on the ends, or a miter box with a saw in it. I don't think anybody has one of those anymore, but an electric chop saw or electric miter saw will do that. You'll need 3 pieces, actually 4 pieces of wood. The bottom will be 20 by 3.5, and you'll need 2 pieces 17 by 3.5, and you'll need 1 piece that is 4.25 inches by 1 inch. This little piece here is a spacer, and I made it from a paint stirring tool that you get from Lowe's or Home Depot. Go in there, when you pick up your 1x4, if you don't have it at home, if you go by the big box store to buy you a 6-foot length of this, ask them for some of these 1/4 inch thick paint stirrers, not the thin ones. So you want 1/4 of an inch. Then you're going to have to figure out how to cut it 3/4 of an inch wide, which is not hard to do. This is soft wood. And you will also need a screwdriver or an electric screwdriver. This is a Phillips head. You'll need 6 sheetrock screws about 2 inches long. You'll need, I used galvanized roofing nails about 1.25 inches, 1.5 long. Anything similar will work. You can cut them down to size. You'll need 2 finishing nails 3 inches long. You'll need a drill bit that is, if I can pick it up, 1/8 of an inch. You'll need one that is 5/32 of an inch. A nail set, and of course a hammer. I don't have one out here, but that's fine. If you have, and glue. Don't forget the glue. If you have a square, that's fine. If you don't, if you cut your wood properly, then you won't need this, but it's just great to have it. So with that, let's put this thing together. First thing you will do is let's go ahead and put the side on it that has this. This is a spacer. My soap that I make, and if you make a mold like I make, then it is the mold is 3.5 inches wide, and so if you use just this 3.5 inch wide here, the soap loaf would be very tight in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this spacer and we're going to put it right here, just like this, and that'll give us an extra 1/4 of an inch for our soap loaf to slide down into our cutter, and it will work out perfect. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to run us a bead of glue. One of these days I'm going to get a new top for this thing. Here we go. Here we go. Typical morning. It has been a typical morning. It has rained all night here in Georgia, and it has rained all morning. We come real close to having an ice storm, I guess you could say, because this morning at 6 the temperature was 33 degrees and it was raining, so we must have had a temperature inversion or something. But this is after lunch and it's still only about 40 degrees. So put your little spacer in there, put your little glue in there like that. Not much, and you can mess it around with your finger if you want to. It's not going to be important. And then you're ready to lay it down like this and line it up with your side like this. And I have marks on here on the bottom right here, as you can see, where you'll start your sides. And I have, of course, mark a quarter, every half inch, and I'll explain what that's for later. I've already drilled my holes in these, so we can get started just like this. It doesn't matter which one you put in first, just make sure it's lined up nice and straight. Everything is straight here. That's what you want to do. And screw it in. Okay. We'll do the next one. And the last one from this side. And do the same thing here. We'll prep it with a little glue. This side does not have a spacer, so you just go ahead and put your glue on it. And line her up. This one wants to be a little obstinate. Of course, this is not the way I normally drill things together. I generally turn them up on their side like this, but I'm trying to keep it where you all can see what I do, and I'm not doing real good at it. So we'll do it anyway. All right, everything should be flush here on the bottom, flush enough. Close enough for what we're doing. Glue off the bottom. Pull this side in just a little bit more. Okay, nice and neat. Get the glue off the inside. Do it now before it dries. If you don't do it now, you'll forget about it. Okay, that makes this opening here actually 3 3/4 inches wide right here. Okay, and basically that is the soap mold, except for this part right here. Now this part right here, I drilled 2 holes in it with my 1/8 of an inch drill, and that's so that I could take these nails, and place them right in the top. They should be snug. Okay, they should be snug, and then you can push them through, nail them through, whatever you want to do. Be real careful. Oh, here it is. I knew I had it this time. You know, you can take it, put it through like that. Okay, this is what you have. This is your soap stock. I drilled holes so that this would match. And these go right in it, and they're also 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch holes. And it goes down just like that, and it's just a dam, and it holds it nice and firm. Your soap bumps up against it, And just like that, when you put the loaf in, it goes in just like that and stops it. And you should end up with nice one inch thick bars. Now, should you want to make something a little longer, you can increase the thickness of the bar to 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 2.5 inches, just by moving this, okay? That's all you have to do. Now, the only thing that's left, and this is important on this, I told you before we were going to cut a step out if we use plywood. This kind of wood right here, you're going to have to take this, and this is the only thing I cannot make without a shop tool, and that is the cut that goes right here. And it's the width of the kerf on the saw blade, and you'll saw it down into the bottom about anywhere from 1/8 to 3/16. Give you a little dip right in here so that the cutter can go down in it. That's going to have to be done on a radial arm saw or a table saw, or you're going to have to be very good with a hand saw. Can be done, but I'm going to do mine on a radial arm saw, and I'm sorry that I can't come up with a way that you can do it other than a standard hand saw, but this is the last step we're going to do. But plywood doesn't break. If this is made out of plywood, it would not break off down here level with the bottom if you bumped it. This wood does. The way the grain is running, if you're not careful, you hit this part will break off. So how I overcome that is to get these nails. I'll put them down in these holes, the 1/8 of an inch holes that I drilled, and hammer them in. And if you want to, you can take a nail set and set them just a little. Now, with that done, there's a nail running all the way down this into the bottom. They won't break off as easily once you get this cut. So this is your soap cutter, except for this part right here. And I'm going to have to go out on a radial arm saw and do that and bring it back and show you what we've got. And then we'll explain how to do the actual soap cutter, what I cut the soap with. This is just the box. Okay, you guys hang on. Okay, we're back from the radial arm saw, and I cut this slot right here for the soap cutter to go down in. And this is one of those things that's where you do as I say, not as I do. If you have a radial arm saw, make doggone sure that the blade is plumb and square. And you won't end up with a little booger like that. But it won't hurt anything because I put my cutter against this side, and this side is square. This side is right, and it lines up with this piece. This piece is square with this piece, so it'll cut soap great 1 inch. Okay, so that's your box. You can see right here where I cut the slot just a little bit, about a 1/4 of an inch down into this 1x. That allows the cutter to go in here. Okay, that's it for the box. Okay, we're going to make the actual cutter that goes with the cutting box we just made. And I start with a coping saw from Harbor Freight. They're about $5 or $6 a piece. And they come with this blade right here, and you can try that. You can even turn the blade over and use the smooth side and try that. I had no luck with it. It drug in the soap too much, and I wasn't happy with it. So I'm going to show you how to make a wire, a stainless steel wire blade, if you will, that will fit in that coping saw. And it's made from about 30-pound stainless steel fishing leader. Now, make sure you have your glasses on when you start working with this. because it's some nasty stuff. It will poke a hole in your finger in a heartbeat. I've already poked one in mine today, and I use this stuff all the time. I used to fish with it, but be careful because it'll poke you if you get in the wrong place. But it's inexpensive. It's just buy a whole roll of it, because you're going to be replacing these things along, and you'll need some needle nose pliers and some wire cutters. And I use the flush cutters because when I'm working with wire like this, because they work great. All right, so you got your safety glasses on, and if you think you need gloves, fine. I couldn't do this with a pair of gloves on, but maybe you are better than I am at that. First thing you do is unscrew your handle and take these parts out right here. You won't need this, and you won't need the blade. Okay, you will need this part and the handle. You put it back in the handle and just make a couple of turns. Now, you might as well go ahead and start with this. And it's kind of picky. This is the hard part. It's really aggravating. But you take your stainless steel wire and you'll make your first loops. This has two big loops. It has a big loop and it has a smaller loop. And the big loop goes over this end. Now, I forgot to mention, if you get this thing and this loop here is closed, right here, it's closed all the way down to the middle. Some of them are, some of them aren't. You're going to need a little gap right here. And if it's closed and you can't get this piece of wire to go up in there like that, then you need to just get you a hammer and a punch and tap it down in here somewhere so that it'll open this up a little. It's really easy to do, no problem. So once you have that done, you need to make your wire. Now this wire is going to be 7 1/8 inch overall from that end to that end. But you're going to need more wire to do your loops. So what I do, the first one I do is this way. I push it through here, bend it over, and this is where you'll get stuck. This ensures that this loop is going to go over this. And then if you want to, you can take these needle nose pliers, and it takes 3 sets of hands to do this. Sometimes 6. But you'll get it like that, and then you'll start doing this little twist on it. And just come around 3 or 4 times. It doesn't take much. Just like that, and just do not poke yourself, because it hurts like blue blazes, and you'll bleed a little bit. All right, once that's done, you can take that off, take your flush pliers and cut this thing just as close to the wire as you can, because you won't be snagging yourself. Now, that's part of it. Now, you have to go ahead and pull yourself out enough wire that you're going to have 7 1/8 inches. So I'll just use this wire right here to measure. You can use a tape measure if you want. I just go down here to about where the end of this is, or wherever 7 1/8 inches comes to. Clamp it with your needle nose pliers and just go over your needle nose pliers like that. Then once you do that, you come over here and cut yourself off an ample amount, just so that you can work with it. Then take your pliers, pull it down like that, and it's the same thing. Rinse and repeat. Twist this over just like this. Three or 4 times. You get that done, take your snips, cut it off flush. Now, you're ready to try to put this thing together. Like I said, it takes about 6 sets of hands, but you can do it. It will eventually do it. Now, you've only got this thing in a thread or 2, okay? So what you want to do is, you may have to take your needle nose pliers and adjust this hole right here a little bit so it will go over the next piece. You just kind of work with it a little bit, think however you need it. And what I'm talking about is we're going to put it over this right here. It's got a little lip, okay? Now this thing wants to get aggravated and it wants to slip around this a lot, but I'll give you a fix for that shortly if you want it. So you put your piece of wire over that, and you've got it over this. Then you start to screw it together. And if you get it together and it's not tight enough, then make it, the next one you do, make it like 7 inches. You'll finally get it down to where your particular coping saw you'll know what size wire to do, because you want it to be tight. Actually, you want it to be a little tighter than this, but this is all this one would do. But so I would say about 7 inches, 6 7/8. Just try doing that to get the total length from here to here before you start screwing this in right here. Now, this piece right here sometimes wants to move around on this. Take you a file and just knock you, or any kind of a tool you might have, and just knock you a little groove just on this edge, just there, just enough to hold that wire. And that is your cutter. You'll need all the extra wire because these things break, and it's really simple to use. You just put your soap. You'll see in the video your soap there. You take your cutter, put it up against this side, and just go straight down. It'll go right in that groove and pop you off a bar of soap. That is the best cutter that I know of to use. You'll have to do a little bit of experimenting with yours when you get it. You may have a different brand of cutter, I don't know, but that's how you do it. Stainless steel fishing wire, some pliers, flush cut if you have them, and I hope that works out for you. It could be aggravating, but it's the best system for the less money that I know of, and I've been using it for 10 plus years and it works great. Thank you all for watching this video, and if you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my video. I've got a couple of more soap ones coming and another series after this. Thank you.